Welcome, everybody. This is Paul Chasse, Chasse Consulting Services, and this is the ITI course online pieces in Module 3 right now. And Module 3 is Advanced PowerPointing. So we had already reviewed beginner PowerPointing, and now we're going on to Advanced PowerPointing, where we'll do a few different things. Some of the things you'll be able to do once we go through the advanced PowerPointing is create a specialized presentation with templates, add some special effects, use the slide notes and handout masters, create, edit, and import charts, create custom shows, and secure and share presentations. So those are some of the items that you will be able to accomplish once we go through the advanced PowerPointing module, which is this one, Module 3. Again, as always, my name is Paul Chasse, and should you have any questions throughout the module, this module, any module, you can feel free to shoot me an email. It's paulchasse, CHASSE, @hotmail.com. And I will get back to you as soon as I can. So with that being said, we are going to start with our advanced PowerPoint module, which is roughly 1 hour long. And we will begin with a brand new PowerPoint, so that way we can start fresh. And what we'll do is we'll start with the very beginning. So you'll see on your screen right now, you have the PowerPoint home screen, which is basically what pulls up when you click on the PowerPoint program. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to go down to Open Other Presentations. And instead of opening a presentation, you'll notice there's some presentations on the right-hand side. Typically, the last presentation or the last few presentations that you create will be on the right-hand side as quick links. But what we're going to do is, as you can see, I'm going over to the left. I'm going to click on New, and we are going to start from blank. So a blank presentation right now, because what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a little bit about how to apply themes and background styles and things of that nature and make changes to it. So we're starting with a blank slide right now, as you can see. What we're going to do is we're going to go over to Design, which is at the top. So this is, again, just a quick review. This is called your ribbon, and this is where all of your options are. When you click on the tabs on the options, you have different options underneath. And under Design, you'll notice here there are a whole bunch of themes. Now, what I want to point out specifically is these aren't the only themes that are available to you right now, because in this little box right here, there's a down arrow. And this down arrow, a lot of people miss. When you hit the down arrow, voila, gives you a whole nother row of designs. And that will continue as you go along. So you can keep scrolling down and seeing other designs as well. And you could basically pick the design that's most favorable for you. So we're just going to find a simple design today. This one looks good. So we're going to click on this design. It's called Main Event Design. And you'll notice when I click on it, it has already come up with a bit of a background, so I don't have to add it myself. Now, if you want to get really advanced, you could certainly use your own, you can create your own backgrounds, but most presenters I know don't bother creating their own backgrounds. They just grab one of the library backgrounds and they get right to work. So these are the different design themes that you can go by, and we're going to click on, again, the main event one. Now what I want to show you is on the right hand side of the design theme box is another box, and this basically allows you to change the color. So you don't have to stick with the red and the red lettering and things like that. You can go to, for instance, when I roll over this, it's like a light blue with a green, and there's a darker blue, and then you could also click on the down arrow, and you can just change each section as you want. So if you want to change the color, if you want to change the font color, you can do that. But of course, you can change the font color and effects through other areas as well. But if you wanted to set it up so it's all one theme throughout the entire slideshow, you can do that right here. I'm going to choose the blue one right now, just because what we're going to do is create a very small Realtor safety PowerPoint presentation, and because of that, I'm going to use the Realtor, I guess like Realtor Blue, I guess you could say. So you'll see here that now we have set up a design, and we've set up our colors, and that's basically how you apply a theme and a background style. So with that being said, you'll notice here that it already has some templates as to what you want to do. So For instance, I'm going to call this, this is just going to be very easy to do. I'm going to call it Realtor Safety. So when I click on the text box, it allows me to type in whatever it is I want to put in. So I'm going to put Realtor. And by the way, with Microsoft products, if you ever use the parentheses and R and parentheses again, you'll notice it pops up as the copyright symbol. So that's always handy. Microsoft products all do that. So the PowerPoint, Publisher, Word, so on and so forth. So you don't have to go searching for the copyright. It will come up. So Realtor Safety is the name of our course. And click to add a subtitle. My subtitle is going to be, I'm going to call this, again, this is Chasse Consulting Services. So you'll notice right off the bat, I have myself a first slide, which looks very professional and very easy to put together because of the choosing a design theme and variants and things like that. So we have our first slide, and we're going to move forward from here. So basically what you want to do is when it comes to your next slide, you go back to the home button here at the top of the ribbon. So if you follow me to the left-hand side where the arrow is, you're going to see a spot where it says New Slide. Now, you don't want to just hit New Slide. What you want to do is you want to click on the down arrow to give you options on the new slide. And the options it's going to give you are in line with the design that you had. So you'll notice here the blue bar at the bottom is consistent with the design that you chose. So Microsoft understands that this is the design that you chose, and these are the different options you have. So the wonderful thing about this is, again, you don't have to recreate the wheel. If you were doing, say, for instance, just text, you'll notice down here there's an area for title and caption, or title only, which title can mean title or it can mean text. It's just basically a text box. If you're doing something with back-to-back content on both sides, you could choose the to content, which kind of splits the slide in half. Picture with caption. There's all these wonderful things you can do with the pre-designs. So it makes it easier and makes it easy for you to focus on the content that you're putting in versus what it is having to design the slide itself. And of course, what I will also say is that no matter what design you use, you can still edit all of the slide itself. It just simply brings up a template for you to be able to start with, and I'll show you what I mean. So for instance, let's go to content. So now I have a template that says click to add title, and then it gives you two boxes. So I'm going to put in here Realtor Safety. Again, parentheses are parentheses will give you that copyright symbol, Realtor Safety. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click to add a text. And my text is going to be open house and showings. Okay, so basically what I have developed here is a slide where it's going to have two sub areas of the slide. So you got Realtor Safety, open house, showings. So now what I could do if I wanted to is I could add a picture, I could just simply add text to this, I could do bullets, whatever it is I'm looking to do and what I'm trying to say. Again, a couple of tips when it comes to PowerPoint. Few things. First of all, you want to make sure that these words right here are a little bit larger if you can squeeze it all into the slide. And the reason for that is you have to remember that people are reading this from different parts of the room, and the room could go as far back as 10, 15, 20, 25 feet. So it makes it a little bit easier when the words are a little bit larger. So you can certainly change those, as we had talked about in the basic PowerPointing piece. We just highlight it and just change the text. All right, so we're back to the template. Now, for instance, what I mentioned before was you could choose a template, but the template doesn't have to fit your exact style. Or I guess you could say you don't have to fit to the exact style of the template if you don't want. If you chose, you could simply get rid of the second piece right here. You'll notice when I click on the text box, it highlights the whole box. And if I go to the line piece where it shows kind of like the cross and the pointer in the middle, and I click on it, I can right click the mouse, and basically I can delete this piece just by hitting the delete button. So I hit delete and it's gone. And now what I could do is hit delete again and the whole piece is gone. So you'll notice now I no longer have a text box there. It's only over here. And of course, I can stretch this out. I can make it one single text box. I can make it smaller. I can make it larger. I can do whatever I want to do with it. So my point is that the template, the design templates are really handy to have. So you're not thinking about having to design all of your slides. You're more focused on the content you want to put in them. But at the same time, you also get the freedom of being able to make any changes to those pre-templates and pre-designs that you would see fit at any time you want by simply doing what you would normally do with a blank slide. So we're back to the slide that we had, and now we had deleted one piece, so that way we only have one column. Well, say I wanted the column back, and I think we talked about this, but I just want to double back for a second, because there is an option to be able to undo whatever you do. So up here at the top above the ribbon, you'll notice on the left-hand slide the back arrow. If I click on that back arrow, you're going to notice that it starts pulling back everything that I did before. And I can keep doing that, boom, until we get back to the point where I have my former text box back. So you'll notice, again, I'm now back to 2 text boxes. So anytime you have an issue with editing and you've gone a little too far, or you've done something, you go, oh, I didn't mean to do that, you can go up to the back arrow to the top of the left-hand side, the back arrow, and you can continue to hit undo until you're at the spot that you want. Now, just like undo, there's a front arrow. So if you've gone too far in the undo, you can also redo. And if you hit redo, you'll notice that it goes to the next thing. So undo brings you back, redo brings you forward, and you can simply not have to panic if you make a mistake in your editing process. So that is basically the applying a theme and a background style for PowerPoint. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight our second slide and I'm going to delete it. All right, so now we're back to our first slide and I'm going to add a new slide. But this time I'm going to add a blank slide. And so we can just start fresh with some of the things that we're going to do. Before we get on to other pieces of art that we're going to add to the slideshow, what I want to do is show you a little bit about inserting a footer. And a footer basically is anything that you want under all of the at the end of all the slides. Footers are just like they do in Word documents. It adds a footnote at the end of each slide. So when you go to insert on the left-hand slide and on the left-hand side of the ribbon, you're going to see a box where it says header and footer. So I'm going to click on that for a second. Now you have a couple options here. You can include on the slide the date and time, and that will do it automatically. And you can change this around if you'd like. If you don't want to show it like that, but you want to show the date, you can do that. Whatever it is that you want to do, you can have that. And you'll notice the preview on the right-hand side. It'll show you exactly where it's going to put the date and time. I'm not going to choose the date and time. You could also choose a slide number if you want. And see, you'll notice when I hit the slide number, let me do it again. Watch the preview box right here for a second. When I hit slide number, the preview box blacks out in the spot. Well, that's where the slide number is going to show. So again, if you look at the preview box again, the date and time will show you the date and time right here. It's a fixed area. You don't have the option to be able to change that. That's a Microsoft fix, and that's where it will go. So I don't want the date and time. I don't want a slide number. However, I do want a footer. So what my footer is going to say is Chasse Consulting Services. And if you want it on the title slide, you can put it on the title slide by just simply checking that box. But if you don't, that's fine. And then you have the option to do one of two things. You can either apply it to the slide that you're on, or you can apply it to all slides within the file. And I'm going to do all slides. So now you'll notice that it comes up. Okay. For some reason, it comes up on the first page too, but that is, let me see, 1 second. Go back to footer. No, it shouldn't have been on there because it doesn't say Oh, I'm sorry, don't show on the title slide. So yes, you do have to click it in order for that to happen. Apply to all, and now it's gone. So you have to click on don't apply to title slide in order for it not to be on there. So it's not on there, but what will happen now is you'll see it's going to be on all the rest of the slides as we move forward. So if I did a new slide, let me go back home for a second. I'm going to do a new slide. And it doesn't matter which kind of template that I use, it should be on the bottom. And there it is. So that particular template that I chose, it still has the footer there. So that's very handy to have as far as if there's something that you want on the bottom of each slide consistently for that particular PowerPoint. So now we're back to our regular blank slide again. So that's the footer section, and you can add those footers anytime. It doesn't have to be right at the beginning of the PowerPoint creation. We could be 4 slides into it, and when you click on the footer, when you just simply check off apply to all slides, it will apply to every slide, including the slides before that you have already created. All right, so that's inserting a footer. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to go to animating text and objects and doing some animation. So the first thing we want to do is, well, let's start with SmartArt graphics and SmartArt objects and things of that nature. So we're going to go back to Insert, and we're going to put some SmartArt up for a second. So we're going to click the SmartArt. And basically, you can see here that there are some predetermined SmartArt templates, all different types. So you have everything from boxes to hexagons and caption lists, and the list goes on and on and on. And then if you go to the next subcategory, you have list, and then you have process. So there are different. It puts them in a different way depending on which category you're looking at. So like hierarchy, we'll take the tab boxes and it'll make it more of an organization chart. In relationship, we'll just put it in a different way, like triangles and things of that nature. So you can certainly play around with that and see what it is you're looking for. And of course, the all is for everything. So if you scroll down, the all just pretty much has everything all together for you to choose from. So let's just pull up some SmartArt for a second. Let's do picture caption list. So there's your picture caption list, and that's what's going to show in your slide. So there we go, and boom. What happens is when you do this, it shows you the different text boxes that you can put on the SmartArt. The reason why it does this, now again, you can customize this any way you want, any way you're choosing. However, what this does is this allows you to quickly input stuff without having to make major changes to your design and spend hours on that particular piece. So for instance, if I only needed 3 text boxes and not 4, I could simply take this last one again. So I click on it, and you'll see that it's highlighted with the square, and I hit the delete button, and it should go. Let me see. Will not let me do that right now. There it is. Okay, so you got to hit the text box piece, and then what happens is it'll bring down the other 3. So again, you can choose to have, instead of 4 text boxes, you can have 3 text boxes. You can have 2 text boxes. So for this particular one, I'm going to say 3 text boxes. So that's our SmartArt. This is what we're going to do. So now I'm clicking out of this for a second, and you'll notice I'm back to the slide. This is the blank slide that we had originally selected. So what I want to do at this point is I'm going to create a text box. So insert text box. So I'm going to have a text box up top here. And with the realtor safety and the open house, what I want to talk about in this slide is actually discussing agency. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make this a much larger text. And I'm going to call this discussing agency before we begin. So that is kind of like my header for this particular slide right here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in 3 different types of agency. I'm going to put in designated. I'm going to put in dual. And I'm going to put in facilitator. So there, I mean, it made it very easy for me to create the slide by using the template. I spent less time on creating the design of the slide and more time on just focusing on the content of the slide. Now, right here, you have the option to add pictures. So if I wanted to add a picture here, I could add a picture. I would just double click on that. And what it's going to show is it's going to come up and say, okay, where do you want to find the picture? So you can choose a couple of things here. Right here in the Bing box, you can decide to look for a specific picture if you'd like. Now, what I will warn you a little bit about is copyright. When it comes to pulling these types of pictures, you should be very, very careful. If you're using this as a PowerPoint just for yourself, you typically don't have a problem. However, if this is something that you plan on using online on the web, I would be very careful about pulling pictures that are, even though they are available to you through the Microsoft PowerPoint program, they're not necessarily available for you to use in a online space. So they're not your pictures. You don't own the pictures. Microsoft owns the pictures. And like I said, typically you don't have a problem using them in a PowerPoint when you're in a class. But if this is something that you plan on changing into either a slideshow for a commercial or an online presentation that thousands of people are going to see, you might want to make sure that you get the correct copyright on the pictures that you're going to use. A lot of times you can go to iStock Photo and you can purchase the pictures, and that way you own the rights to that particular picture when you're showing it on the PowerPoint. Again, that's more for online though. I mean, if you're going to just do a PowerPoint for a class, that's not necessarily a problem. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to type a keyword in. Let's say seller, home seller. I'm going to put home seller, see if anything comes up. Home seller. So you see all these different graphics and pictures and that you can choose from. And I'm just going to simply select one that maybe makes some sense. Let's see here. Well, let's see if we can just find like a. Oh, we'll do this. So when you click on it, the little check mark comes up, and you hit insert, and voila, it instantly formats it into the text box that you have there. So it makes it nice and easy again. You don't have to do anything. I'm going to double click on this one right here. I'm just going to put 3 different graphics in here just so you can see what it looks like. So we'll choose a different one. There it is. And now the last one. Again, you want to double click on the inside of the box and it will come up. So there we go. Did the same one. All right. Well, that's okay. So the point is that you get to see the pictures above your text. And this text down here, you could add more text if you want to. It doesn't have to be one. So if you hit enter, you'll notice it'll make the text smaller because it's gonna keep the text within the text box, because what you're trying to do is keep the format of the text underneath that particular caption. It's like a caption for that particular picture. So you can add more text if you'd like to, but we'll just leave it at that for now. So that is our second slide. Now, one thing I'll say is that as we're going through these slides, another PowerPoint tip that I have is you have to remember that your slides are not going to be representative of everything you talk about. So your slides shouldn't have, just words on it, and it certainly shouldn't have everything that you're going to say, because you shouldn't be reading from the screen. I think we had talked about that a little bit, and if we're not, we are going to discuss it more. But it's important that your PowerPoint accentuates your presentation and that it doesn't take over your presentation. Too often we see presenters that have a whole bunch of information on the screen, and they're basically reading from the screen. They're not acknowledging the class, and they're reading more from the screen. And that's really not what you want to do. So in a case like this, for this particular picture, for this particular slide number 2, you'll notice there's very little that's on it, and that's okay, because basically what will happen is in my presentation, as I go to slide 2, it'll say designated dual facilitator, and it is my presentation that I start to talk about designated agency, dual agency, and being a facilitator. So I don't have to put all the definitions on the slides. I don't have to add a whole bunch of words because I want my PowerPoint simple. I want people to be able to see it and understand where I'm at as far as my presentation. So it should always augment your presentation. It should never be your presentation. Okay, so just another tip, and I'll probably say that more often because it's something I really believe in. You cannot teach to a PowerPoint. Your PowerPoint should always just be an extra visual in your presentation. So now we've got we have 2 slides all set. We're going to add a third slide. So we're going to go new slide. I'm going to add another blank slide for a second. So we've got 3 slides out now this time. So this time we're going to add a different type of text, an object. So we're going to insert. This time we're going to do a shape. So, you have all these shapes that you can go by to add. And when you add one of these shapes, you can always make them larger, make them smaller, anything that you'd like to do. So for instance, if we use the arrow here, it's going to give you this plus. And what you do is you hold down the right mouse button, and then you make the arrow as large or as small as you'd like. Okay, that's how you insert objects. So you go to insert, you go to shapes, and you can make these designs any way you'd like. Now, you can click it and you can adjust it at any time that you want. You can make it bigger, smaller, or whatever as you go on further. Okay, so those are different types of shapes. I'm going to delete this for a second. So I click on the button so I can see the whole line, and then I hit the delete button and it's gone. Now I'm going to go to icons so you can see what icons look like. So icons are different shapes that are I guess, typical of what you might see, and they break down into subcategories right here. So people, technology and electronics, communications, business, so on and so forth. So there's all types of symbols here that you can use. So if I just decide to take one, let's see if there are any. So for instance, let's do a celebration. I click on it, click insert, and it will come up. And again, I can decide to do, I can make it as large or as small as I'd like it to be. This turn on intelligent services to let PowerPoint automatically create more impactful slides. I would not recommend that at this point. That would be like a far more advanced PowerPoint module that you would be getting into. I'm just going to X out of that right there. So now you have, just like we had the we had an object there before. It's the same thing. You can make it larger. You can make it smaller. You can adjust the fill of it. You can make it look a different color. So up here, you'll notice that there's different colors that you can make it if you'd like. So these are all different types of objects and symbols that you can use within your PowerPoints. And the reason why I wanted to show them to you is just as an option to add to be creative when you've got words on your slides. Adding some type of art or shape or icon is always helpful. So I'm just going to delete this for a second and get back to our regular blank screen. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to insert a word art. So here's my word art over here. And I'm going to down arrow and choose the type of word art I want. So I'm going to go with like a shadow box. And I'm going to right click the button while the line is showing. So you have this basically allows you to do a couple things. You can either delete it like you've seen me do, or you can push down the left button, the left mouse button. You can drag it around. So basically drag and drop wherever you want on the screen. So we're going to put that up here for a second. And this is going to be a header for our third slide. And we're going to call this open house safety. Now, as we do this SmartArt, what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight it, and I'm going to change the color on this. So you'll notice up here I have all these different options. And so I'm going to just change it just to show you how easy it is to make a change. So there it is. It needs an E there. There we go. So now I've got open house safety as my top text piece on slide number 3. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to talk a little bit about animations, and there's a difference between animation and transition. Transitions are for slides, and animations are for pictures, texts, and things of that nature. And what it allows you to do is just what it does. Which is what it says. It animates the particular whatever it is that you decided to select to animate. In this case, we're talking about our word art. So if I click on our word art and I highlight it, so again, highlight just like you would highlight anything. You left click the button and then you roll over the piece. I'm going to go up here and you'll notice home, insert, draw. One of the tabs is animations. So I'm going to click on animation. Here are all the different animation effects you have. And again, whatever there's a arrow button, that means there's more options to choose from. So you can continue to move down and decide what animation that you would like to use all in all. So we're going to go with a basic animation today. I'm going to roll back up here and let's do a fly in. So basically, did you see that? The text just flew in onto the slide, and that will happen with a click when you're doing your slideshow. So that is how you create animation on anything. We'll do it on an object in a minute, just so you can see that that it works the exact same way. But for text, this is how it works. Now, if I chose instead of fly in, if I chose appear, it'll kind of like just appear. And if I do float in, instead of fly in, it'll just kind of float up and float in. So there are all these different ideas that you can use when it comes to animating your text, your objects, your whatever it is. And again, what does it do? It helps to retain people's, their sense of keeping in touch with watching the PowerPoint as you're talking. It's keeping their attention span, it's holding their attention span. And I don't necessarily recommend that you do every single slide, every single animation, every single transition, because then that kind of gets a little what's the word I'm looking for? It gets too cumbersome, and then people are looking at the flashes and everything else more than they're listening to the content. You always have to find that even balance between a PowerPoint that can keep a good attention span, and a PowerPoint that augments the presenter and the materials that the presenter is trying to present. So animations are great, transitions are great. However, you always want to, not everything needs to be animated. It's more so kind of like when you write a document and you bold something or italicize something, you're trying to get the attention of the class or the student on that particular text or that particular symbol. That's when you use animations. So I'm going to show you real quick, now that we have the animation, I'm going to show you on the slideshow what it looks like. And I'm going to go from the beginning here for a second. So on slide 3, you'll notice it's blank. When I hit advance one more time, it pops up. Okay, so you have to advance it. Now, there are different things that you have the option to do when it comes to animations. So let's go back to animation for a second. Here is our animation. We've got our highlight, and this is animation number 1 for this particular text box. Now, you'll notice on the right-hand side, there are different options here. You can either choose to have the animation start on click. Click means you have to actually either click your if you've got a presenter's clicker in your hand that you're using for your PowerPoint, or if you're hitting the arrow on the keyboard in order to advance your slides, when it says start on click, that means you've got to actually advance it physically, manually. If you choose the down arrow and you go with previous, what that should do is that should allow you to, when the slide comes up, it should come up automatically. Now let's just see if this is exactly how it works. We're going to test it again. We're going to go to, see if we can get rid of that for a second, and slideshow. So let's start from the beginning again. So I'm advancing. I'm on slide number 2. Now I'm going to slide number 3. See how it automatically came up? That is because I unselected click and I selected roll with previous. So the difference there is that if you don't want it to click, but you want it to come up automatically when your slide comes up, then you definitely want to make sure that it's set to with previous. Now, what is after previous? After previous would be as the slide is ending. So once the slide is, once you have everything on the slide, then it will do its thing. So you can time it depending on what the text is, what the object is, when you want it to come up. Do you want it to come up when the slide first comes up, or do you want it to come up just before the slide ends? Or do you want it to do on click? So you have all these options. The other options you have here, real quick, I'll talk about, are the duration. So duration means how fast do you want it. Was that a little too fast when we open the slide up? So you can change this with the arrows. So as you see here, these are in seconds. So that's 2 seconds, 1.75 seconds. That's 1 second. So we're going to change it to 3 seconds for a quick minute here. Again, I'm going to go back to the slideshow. I just want to show you what it looks like. So we go on slide 3, and you'll notice when I click, it's coming up slower. So obviously, the longer you set it for, the slower it's going to be to get where it needs to be. You have all these options with animation. So you can choose the duration, you can choose the delay, which means it'll play the animation after a certain number of seconds. And that is good for when you have your, when you choose with previous. You can do it on click, but typically click, you're going to want, when you click it, you're going to want it to show up. The reason you do it for with previous a lot of times is because you start the slide, you're talking about something else. So your script may, I'm just changing this right now while I'm talking to you. I'm going to add 5 seconds to this. So you may, from slide 2 to slide 3, have something in your script that you're talking about before you want this to come up. And we'll show this as an example now. So on slide 3, I'm talking a little bit, and I'm finishing up what I was wanting to say, and then all of a sudden you'll see it floats up, and that leads me to my next discussion point. So you have these options when it comes to your animation. You can choose to have it come right up, have it come up slow, have it come up fast, have it delayed to give you time to speak first, or if it's just for effect, you can do that as well. So that is basically how you run animation on text. Now we will insert a photo, or let's just do a photo for a second here. Insert picture, and there are no pictures on this thing, so we're gonna have to do an online picture. So let's do an online picture of a house. And there's the house we're going to use. Click insert, and the house comes up. Again, as we talked about in the first section, you can adjust these pictures just like you can adjust the text boxes. Okay, so now we have a picture. We can now set the animation of the picture just like we did with the text. So if I get off the slide for a second, if I highlight the picture, I click on the picture, again, I go up to animation, I can do the exact same thing. I can choose the fly in, I can choose anything I want here. Maybe I'll do pulse. Pulse is exactly what it says. It will kind of like give it like a heartbeat kind of thing. It'll pulse it. And what I'll do here is I will show you what it looks like in the slideshow. I'm going to set this pulse for a little bit longer duration because typically the pulse are quick. So, half a second, you really don't see much. So let's go back to the slideshow again, and let's start, and let's get over to number 3. And I don't think it actually, the color pulse may not work with the picture. Maybe we need to try a different one as let's try bounce. No, let's try swivel. So we're going to swivel the picture instead. And this time we're going to do it with previous. So we're going to do it when it first comes up. We're also going to make sure that our text does the same thing. Okay, so we're good there. I'm going to view the slideshow, and you'll see that it works the same way as the text. All right, it did not come up. Let's see here. Go over to animation. Oh, there's a 0 there. For some reason, something happened, and I must have knocked off my original animation. So I'm going to do my original animation again. So I'm trying to, it will not let me, I don't know, this is acting a little quirky for a second. So let's figure out why. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use the undo button for a second here. I'm going to keep going back until I get back to when I had my 1. Because you have to have, it has to show here. Right now, it's not showing anything as far as highlight. Let's do none. Let's clear it out for a second. Let's try one more time. So now we're going to highlight, fly in. Okay, for some reason it kicked out my last animation, but the 1 is in there now, so that means that it's ready to go. So again, I'm going to do this. I'm going to highlight the animation, and I'm going to make it a little bit slower. There. Now I want to bring in my picture. Make my picture smaller. And I'm going to, all right, so now what we should have, yep. So you'll notice here, we have a 1 here and we have a 2 here. So basically what this means is that the animations are going to be set up in a sequential order. I could change the sequence if I want to, but 1, this is going to be the first piece that pops out, and then 2, this is going to be the second piece that pops out. Now, we don't want it on click. We want it to come when we first hit the slide. Okay, because I think what's happening here is because there are 2 animations at the same time, it's going to require you to click. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to 1 click, and then that's number 1, and then we're going to do click, and that's going to be number 2. So what you'll see here is when we go to the slideshow, when you get to slide 3, you will advance the slide in order to get your text up, and then click again, and then your picture will come up. So again, I just want to explain how this works. When you click on the animation, you'll notice that you have a 1 on the animation. There we go. Animation, you have a 1, and you'll notice the picture has a 2. That means that when you hit the slide and you advance the text will pop up first, and then the picture will pop up second when you click on the picture. So you click, and it'll bring them up in a sequential order. Now, you could change this order if you chose to. I don't know if it could be done. I don't think it could be done. I think what you have to do is you have to set it up in the order that you'd like. So if you wanted the picture to come up first, then you set up the picture first. You could just get rid of the text and then redo the text, because what happens is if I delete the text right now, you'll notice that that house becomes a 1 automatically. Now I can set the text back up again, and it'll be a 2 this time if you wanted to swap it around. So that's the way you run animation throughout the PowerPoint. And again, the 1s, the 2s, the 3s, depending on how many animations you have within the slide, shows you when it's going to come up in that slide. So that's animations and timing and using and animating texts and objects and things of that nature. What I'm going to get into just a little bit, we talked a little bit about SmartArt graphics, but I just wanted to go back into SmartArt for 1 second. So I'm going to delete this. And we are going to go back to Home, over to Insert, and SmartArt. So as we did in the first section, we have all these different options for SmartArt, but you can also animate SmartArt. So we're going to go to slide 2 for a second, and if I highlight the SmartArt, I can then choose animation, and I can choose to do something with the animation. So say I want to bounce it. It will bounce the entire, it'll bounce the entire SmartArt piece that you did, including the text. And that is because when you do a SmartArt, the text and the SmartArt that included with the text like a caption, that it's all together. So you don't have to worry about setting up each one of them. So any SmartArt that you put there will all jump at one time. And again, you notice that when you click on it, you have the little 1 there. That means that it's the first thing that's going to jump. So if I did swivel, you'll notice it's going to kind of swivel. So my point is, whether it's SmartArt, Smart Objects, Smart Graphics, text, pictures, you can animate anything by simply going to the animations, choosing the animation you want, choosing the duration that you want or the delay, whether you want it to start on click or whether you want it to come in automatically. You have all those options. So that is a little bit more with SmartArt and the animation piece. We're going to move on now to sounds and media clips. What I found is more and more as PowerPoints are evolving more, that people are using sounds and videos and things like that within their presentation. And that is great because, again, you're going to learn in the live classes that there's never enough, you can never do enough to keep people's attention spans. We're going to do games, we're going to do videos, we're going to have music. There's going to be all kinds of stuff during the live class, and that's designed to show you how interactive you should be when you're doing your classes. Now, obviously, if you're doing a keynote class with 500 people, you're going to have to limit some of that stuff. But the smaller the class, the more interaction you want to have with that class, because it, A, keeps their attention span, B, gets them to, it gets you to accentuate the learning areas that you're looking at them to absorb. So interaction is key, and part of the interaction is using all the different facets of basically your senses: eyes, ears, nose, mouth, and all that, in order to engage your students. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit briefly about music and video. So if we go back home for a second, we're going to go to our blank slide number 3. So we're at the blank slide right now, and what we want to do is we want to add either music or we want to add a video. And how we do that is we insert. If you think about it this way, no matter what it is you're looking to do on your slide, if you're looking to add text, you're going to insert. If you're looking to add SmartArt, you're going to insert. Music, you're going to insert. Video, you're going to insert. So the Insert tab is really where it's at as far as adding anything of value to the tab, to the slide piece. So you'll notice right here that we're in Insert. If you go all the way over to the right-hand side, you see video and audio, and you have arrows here too. So let's start with audio for a second. I'm going to click the audio arrow button, and it's going to say to me, okay, what do you want to do? Do you want to add audio from your PC? So in other words, if you have audio on your computer for this particular slide, you can search for it. Or do you want to record audio? So if your computer, and most of them nowadays are, if your computer is set up with a little video camera and a microphone, you can actually record audio directly onto your computer from this particular piece. So say, for instance, I wanted to add audio. Say I wanted to explain a slide and have it in audio on the slide. I could do that by clicking on Record Audio, and if I have the computer that has the little built-in microphone, it will record whatever it is I'm saying, and I can put that into my slide. For the purposes of today, I'm going to simply add an audio file. So audio on my PC. I'm going to click on that. And basically what you do is you go through your folders and you find wherever the audio is in your computer, you have to find it. You have to browse for it. Just like when you're looking for a file. I know that my audio file is on the desktop, and it's called Payday. This is just a very simple one. So I'm going to double click on this, and you'll notice it comes up right here. So now I've got the audio file sitting on my slide. A couple of things that you want to be aware of when it comes to audio and video, more so video, and that is anytime possible, you want to make sure and have your file on your computer that you're going to have your PowerPoint on, because if you're relying on internet, sometimes that can get a little sticky when you're out there. Different rooms, different locations have different types of internet and different kinds of Wi-Fi. Some are slow, some are fast. I've been in a couple places where they don't have Wi-Fi at all, and you're resorting to a hotspot. So there are different things that you have to do sometimes in order to get your video or your audio going. So it's really important, if you can, to always have the video file or the audio file on your computer when possible. So in this case, we have our audio file, and the audio file is sitting there. And now what we do is we choose what it is that we want done with the audio file. So When the audio file is inserted, you'll see up here under playback, no style, play in background. So what's the difference? If I select play in background, what's going to happen is when I bring that particular slide up, it's going to play that, whatever that audio is in the background. So in this case, this is music. So if I click on play in background, watch what happens when we do the slideshow. When I get to slide 3, it simply starts playing the audio. And I can talk, I can do whatever it is I want to do. If it's music, I can talk over it or whatever it is I want to do. If it's something else, I can just let it play. If it's like an audio instruction, we can do that. So that is when you're on the playback. If you want it to automatically start, kind of like the animation, you can either click to start it or you can let it start automatically. If you don't want it to start automatically, then you want to make sure you hit no style. Okay, and what no style will require you to do is it will require you to actually click on the button. So that is useful for if you bring up this particular slide and there's some information on the slide and you're talking about it and then you want to start an audio presentation, you can do that. So let me show you the difference. Now we go back to slideshow and you'll notice now it didn't play, but you'll see this little icon right here. That means it's ready to go. So you're talking, and when you want to play the audio, you run your mouse over it, and then you just click on it, and it'll stop playing. That's how you do audio. And of course, audio works the same way. You can make the icon larger or smaller, just like, because all it is a picture. And you can adjust the audio. You know, if you want the sound a little bit lower, a little bit higher, you can do that as well. So there's different things you can do. You can even set the audio at a certain point. So you'll notice, like right here, I'm almost at 12 seconds now. I'm at 18 seconds into the audio. You can choose to start it at a certain point too. You have that editing option. But basically, that's how you add an audio file, and you can add an audio file to any slide you want. And if you want to get rid of the audio file, it's the same as text, pictures, and SmartArt and everything else. You simply highlight the box, and then you hit delete, and it disappears. So that's audio. When we get to video, I'm going to insert here for a second. What we're going to do is I am going to do a YouTube clip video, just to show you how it works. So I'm going to click on video, and I'm going to click the down arrow. Again, do I have an online video or is a video on my PC? I don't have a video on the PC on this particular computer, so I will use an online video. So when I click on online video, it says, okay, where is the video coming from? And you have a couple of options. You can choose to embed a code, and that's getting really advanced. So in other words, you can Google search video, and when you find the video you're looking for, you can actually take the code from that video and embed it here, copy and paste it, or you could do the simple thing, and that is under YouTube, search for what it is that you're looking for. So this particular class is about realtor safety. So I am going to type in realtor safety. And it's going to go through Google. It's going to go through YouTube and find all of the different videos with that particular search mechanism. So I'm just going to click on the first one here, just as an example. And when I click on it and hit insert, it's going to pop up on the slide. It may take a minute or two because this is an online one. Now, I can make this video screen larger, which might be helpful because, again, remember now, it looks okay when it's on the computer, but when you're out in front of a class, it's much larger than, you want to make it much larger so people can see it. So I'm expanding the video right here, and you'll notice with the video, it's getting bigger. So again, I have a couple options here. When I click on playback, I can choose to start it automatically or on a click. So if it's automatically, it's going to start when the slide starts up. If it's on a click, it's going to be I have to click it when I'm ready, and I do want it on a click. So you have that. So basically here, what you have is a link to an online video. Again, be sure that you have good Wi-Fi when you're doing this presentation, or else you're going to find yourself sitting there wondering why the video is not working. And you should always be prepared with extra script should the video not work. So if the video is, for instance, I believe this video is 3 minutes long. If this video doesn't play and you need 3 minutes of filler, you need to explain exactly what was in the video. So that way the students don't lose out on the video itself. So let's go to slideshow real quick. Let's play from the beginning, and we'll show you the example now of the video. So we go to slide 3, and there's the video. So you'll notice it's ready to go. When I click on the arrow, it starts to find it, and there it is.
As a real estate professional, you are in a unique position that most working professionals never face.
So that's how you do video. One thing you want to make sure of with audio and video as well, something you have to be careful of, especially if you have a large classroom, is how that audio is going to get out. So a lot of the new projectors nowadays have audio hooked up to their projectors. They have a speaker, but you have to make sure that you're using either an HDMI cord from your computer to the projector, or you have an audio cable or USB cable, because if it's just a VGA projector cable, that doesn't do audio. So one of two things needs to happen. Either you need to have your computer hooked up into the projector with an audio, so HDMI or USB, through HDMI USB with a projector that has speakers, or you have to have your computer itself up loud to play it as well. And I will say that the computer really, a lot of times, unless you have less than 20 people or so, the computer really it can't project the audio very well. So again, one of two things has to happen there. If you're using a microphone for your presentation, you're going to want to take your microphone and put it down to your computer speakers in order for everybody to be able to hear it. A couple of things that you want to think about when it comes to doing audio and video. But basically, that's how you do a video, and that's how you set up a video. And like I said, audio and video are becoming more and more pertinent as far as slideshows, as slideshows get more advanced and things like that. The last piece I wanted to show you a little bit of was the slideshow itself and how to design the slideshow. So I've been in and out of slideshows showing you different examples of things, but I wanted to take a moment and talk about the actual slideshow itself. So let's go back home for a second, back to the home section. So we have 3 slides up right now. When we're ready to create our slideshow, we can create our slideshow by clicking on the slideshow tab. Okay, there's some options here. You can choose to run the slideshow from any particular slide. So that would be from current slide. So if I do it from the current slide, it's only going to bring up this particular slide that I'm looking at right now. If I want to do it from the beginning, it's going to start from the beginning. Okay? A couple of other things that I want to talk about. You can record your slideshow. So if you wanted to record your slideshow, it'll do is, as you're advancing your slideshow, it will advance the show just like you're advancing it, and it'll record it in a video segment. So if you wanted to take that as a tutorial down the road and use it in a video, you could do that. Or some people record their slideshows to better feel the pace of how they're presenting. So people use it for practice purposes as well. A couple other things. You'll see here, use presenter view. Now, because we only have one computer right now, you're really not going to be able to see what the presenter view is, but it is checked off. Basically, presenter view allows you to not only on the computer see the slide that's currently up, but it also allows you to see the notes that you put in your section. So if you did notes within your slideshow, and I can show you how to do that, we will talk a little bit about that too when we are at the live classes. But if you wanted to set up notes on your slideshow, so basically what happens is you have your PowerPoint and then you have some notes underneath about that slide. Maybe the bullets that remind you of what it is that you want to say. Well, when you're on presenter view right here, you have it checked off. When you're standing at your computer, you will see the slide that's projecting on the screen, but there will also be a box with that note. So whether it's a bulleted note or it's a paragraph or whatever it is, it will be there for you to be able to read or look at and reference. They won't see it because it splits the screen, and only the slideshow will show up on the big screen, but the computer will have the slideshow and the notes. If you choose to uncheck it, then you won't see the notes. You'll just see what's on the screen. And that's the difference. Again, I can't show it to you here because I'll show it to you when we're in the live classes. Can't show it to you here because we don't have it actually projecting on a screen. And the computer realizes when there's only one screen and not one screen. So my suggestion is to use the presenter view because it is helpful. I use the presenter view oftentimes as well because I'll put some bulleted points down there of areas that I want to hit for every particular slide. So when I advance to the next slide, it's got the slide up there and it says this, 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 and this. And I'm looking at that and reminding myself, these are the points that I want to hit while this slide is up. So that's the presenter view. Other than that, the slideshow itself is very easy to run as you've been seeing as we go along. You've simply, and this is all you do when you're getting ready to present your material, when you're setting up. You go to your PowerPoint, you pull up your PowerPoint on the slideshow, you start from the beginning, and then you basically advance it. And you advance it either through a clicker or through the keyboard, the arrows on the keyboard, and it just advances the entire slideshow as you go along. This is what the class will see. If you have presenter view, you will see part of this, and then the other half of the screen will be your notes. And so that's pretty much how the slideshow piece works. You'll notice here there are options for like rehearse timings. You can actually rehearse the amount of time that you have on each slide. So this is great for practicing. You'll notice right here in the top left-hand corner when I hit rehearse, it's actually counting up the time. And it's counting up the time because it's basically, it'll count up each time you advance the slide. So in other words, we've been on this slide for 25 seconds, and if I was done talking about whatever it was on this slide and I wanted to go to the next slide, I hit the next slide, you'll notice that it starts all over from the beginning. This is a great way to rehearse and to get yourself in that automatic mode of talking about whatever it is you're going to talk about on each slide, but keeping it within a certain period of time. So it's really important if you have like a 25-minute, 30-minute presentation and you've got 10 slides, that basically you're going to be talking 3 minutes a slide. If you're going to talk 5 minutes on one slide, then you got to talk 2 minutes on another slide. And this is a good way of getting yourself to rehearse that and to better understand and practice before you actually do it out in the classroom. So that is all you have to do for rehearsing. And anytime you want to go back and finish up the slideshow and you want to go back to your slides in your PowerPoint section, you just simply hit the ESC button and it allows you to go back to the beginning. And that's it. That's all there is to setting up the slideshow. And I think that is about all we have for module number 3 in the advanced section of PowerPointing. So you've had the introduction to PowerPoint, you've had the advanced piece of PowerPoint. So by now you should have some real good feelings as to how you want to create your PowerPoint presentation and your slides and the different ways to set up your animations and transitions and designs. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to send me an email. I will respond back as soon as possible. The email again is paulchase, CHASSE, @hotmail.com, paulchase@hotmail.com. And we're going to wrap this module up, and we thank you for listening, and we will see you and talk to you at the next module.